Hello there, my name is Aaron and I like to build things out of old toys and model kits. This is an old fan from something I got from somewhere. Unfortunately it won't work, but it's inspired me to make something. So you know what that means. Let's start scratching that build. Even though the fan doesn't work, I'll use it in my diorama. We can pretend it's some kind of stopping device used with the Stargate. And I'm going to use some XPS foam to rustle up a base. And that's a first, I've actually cut something to size. Using thinner strips of XPS foam, I'll just use them to hold the fan in place. It's a shame I don't know where I got this fan from, because if I knew I could have tried to make it work, but I don't have the technical know-how. I used a hairdryer to see if I could make it move, but that was proving difficult, so it's just going to be a non-stationary fan. But that doesn't mean it can't have lights, so using a power tool I'm going to make some holes and stick some lights in it. While clearing up the mess, I'm trying to work out how the lights are going to work on the diorama. Instead of overcomplicating things, I'll just do the simple drop a light in, stick a battery to it and hope for the best. I make a frame out of thin XPS foam just to make sure that there's no gap showing, and then what I'll do is put some mesh over it, just so then it's going to cover the fan like that. And I'm talking like this because I am amazed at how well I've got all my measurements on this diorama. I'm going to throw some non-sticky gems onto the edge of the framework, so just using some PVA glue to stick it down. On to building the Stargate itself. I got this idea when I read a story about the US Army in Iraq that seized a town that had an actual Stargate in a building. I know I need to get out more and get more friends, but this idea is basically, what if the US Army had a Stargate and was using it commercially? Say you wanted to go to the beach, but the beach is 3 hours away. All you had to do was just drive to one of these Stargates, go through it, and boom, you're there straight away. Brilliant idea. So that's what I'm going to do. But then that brought me to my first problem: how to make the Stargate a Stargate. So I'm going to use baking paper. I have my Stargate cut out, and what I'm going to use is Mod Podge. The idea is simple but not tested, so I'm just going to just squirt Mod Podge in the centre of the Stargate. I then realised that the Mod Podge would make the Stargate stick to the baking paper, so I quickly rectify that by just taking the Stargate away. And I made 4 more of these, just putting the Mod Podge onto the baking paper and letting it dry. So while that's drying, it's onto the actual model for the diorama, which is a beach buggy. Now, making a normal beach buggy would just be boring, so I'm going to make a hover beach buggy. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, I'm just going to use my new airbrush just to do the top bit, and it's a beach buggy, so it's going to be orange, which is a new colour that I don't really use. And while I do that, it's code word time. So if you want to leave a comment, leave a tip, or just say hi, just use the comment at the start so I know you got here before skipping to the glamour shots. And the code word is Chuck Norris. While the beach buggy dries, it's time to glue in the lights and tidy up all the wires ready for everything else later on. I cut some shapes into the Stargate using my hobby knife, and then work out where I want to place it on my diorama. I cut some bricks out of XPS foam. To give the bricks some texture, I'm going to put them in a tub filled with rocks from my garden and just give it a shaky. Do that for about 5 minutes, and then once the XPS foam comes out, it should have some nice little texture on it. Using the textured bricks, I'm just going to build a wall for the Stargate, and then I get that sinking feeling knowing that I've just built the wall too close to where it should be. It should be more along the edge. Putting the base to one side in disgust, I turn my attention to the Stargate and just score some shapes into it. And because this is XPS foam, it's really easy to do, and you can do almost anything if you want to. With both sides of the Stargate decorated, don't know if you can see it there, maybe you can, maybe you can't, it's time to put the actual bit in the middle. Remember when I said I did this 4 times? Then yes, I probably did it more than 4 times, because each attempt kept breaking. This is the original one, so I'm going to treat this like gold. Don't know if you can see it, but it's there, and I just need to hot glue that now into my Stargate. Okay, so disaster struck and that one broke, so I had to make another one. I made it bigger this time and then tried to cut it down. So yeah, I'm now redoing the Stargate that I already had but had broken. This is the last one. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna pack in the entire build. Okay, now hold your breath, because this is... oh, yes, actually fits, and now I can get this hot glued in to the Stargate. With extreme care and caution, I'm just hot gluing the sheet into my Stargate. Because it's still really brittle, what I'm going to do is just run the hot glue around the surface of the Mod Podge, just to try and give it a little bit of strength. And then, do you remember in the Stargate film and the TV show, it had that whoosh of like water that came out? Well, that's what I'm going to do. I've made my whoosh of water. I don't know what to call it. The splash, I've made the splash out of hot glue, and I'm just going to hot glue that into the center of my Stargate. And there we go. There's the Stargate with the splash. Yeah, well, you know, it looks all right. I've done what I've meant it to do, and then I'm gonna try and have the buggy coming out of that. So yeah, I think it looks all right. Because it's still very brittle, I'm just gonna go over it again with some Mod Podge on either side and let that dry. Now turning the attention to the hover beach buggy, and there's the outer bit, the top I suppose, and here is the bottom bit, and that's what it looks like when it's together. So I didn't put most of the engine in because I didn't need it, but the wheels, I'm just going to turn them and invert them to make them look like the hover bits and pieces that you have on a hover, like you have on a hover car, like I've got a hover car sat outside right now. You guys know what I mean. I noticed that the wheels had holes in, which means I can put lights in them, and in that case I'm just going to be very careful where I place the bits and pieces. I'm going to use more of this mesh for to cover the wheels to make them look less wheel-like and more like hover-like. So just cut them down to size and then stick them on the wheels. And while I do that, here's a list of names who just left funny comments, nice comments, tips in the comments, and also my members corner as well. So thanks very much. So back to the build. I'm now going to work out where to place the buggy in comparison to where the Stargate is. Now, I couldn't get any clear styrene rod simply because I wasn't willing to part with a kidney due to the postage costs, so I'm just going to have to use a black straw, unfortunately, because nowhere around here even knew what I was talking about when I asked in some of the model shops. So that's how the Buggy is going to look, and that is how the Stargate is going to look. So let's get it all bashed together. I drilled a hole into the wheel, and that will fit into the suspension nicely. You'll notice I've not glued the body onto the base yet, simply because I need to do the wiring for the lights. So that's what the beach buggy looks like with the wheels as hover jets. This is a piece from an aircraft that I'm just greebling up just for the underneath so the wires can go into. Before I do anything else, I need to do the dashboard and the steering wheel and the seats. So a quick blast of Vallejo black. And I thought I should paint the underneath of the buggy now rather than later, because I still haven't attached the lights to it yet. I'm just going to do a quick test fit because, knowing me, I might have stuffed up somewhere. No, we're golden, it all fits. I thought I'd do the trim of the seats and the gear stick and steering wheel the same colour as the beach buggy. So again, using Vallejo yellow and red, both from the airbrush range. I'm just going to do the mix to try and get it as close as possible, and then do the details on the inside of the buggy. If you notice, I didn't go too overboard with all the greeblies for the buggy, because I thought a beach buggy is a classic icon of the 70s and wanted to leave it as close to the original as possible. That's why I just did the wheels instead. So that's me just doing the details on the gear stick, the handbrake, the pedals, and also the steering wheel. Now it's the moment of truth time with the lights. Just got them into place and just gluing them down so they don't fall out. So now that the lights are in, let's test them with the battery and... Oh dear. Hang on. There we go. No. Yes. No. Did I say I was a novice electrician? This is where I need spider math to jump in to build this sort of stuff. Hang on, I might have them the wrong way. There we go. There's the lights. The lights are working. Let's move on. So now all I needed to do was get the rest of the lights in and glue the wire into place. The fiddliest bit for me was trying to get all these wires through that bit, which is like a face plate, a bottom plate for the beach buggy, and then through the tube. But I did it and very nearly dropped it onto the floor. So that's the top bit. I can glue that into place now, and it looks a bit like a spider. The spider beach buggy. That sounds quite cool, actually. That could be a new build. So right, let's get everything else put together now. That's the bit of straw that's going threading the wires through, and then the actual body of the beach buggy gets glued into place. I now just have to stick on the accessories, which are the seats and also the windshield and back windscreen shield thingamabob. I sprayed the framework the same colour as the beach buggy to keep it in colour with everything else, and then masked up the Stargate so I could paint the interior, which will be blue, light blue, a bit of white. So yeah, let's zap through this bit. Now I know this new airgun of mine isn't the best in the world, but for €45 there's a little bit more pressure, and I understand now why people rave about airbrushes, because to be quite honest, it is really, uh, well, it is a good piece of kit. And then once the base is dried, I'm going to use some Vallejo, like a light grey, and just spray that lightly over. Now I'm going to go back over the base with some light sand, just all over the rocks, the stones, the Stargate and the base, just to give it that like two-tone look. To finish off the water effect for the Stargate, I'm using some white, and I'll just lightly go over both sides. And then reverse everything for the Stargate. So I've covered the water bit, and I'm just going to go around the edges with the light sand colour. And then just to top it off, I'll just do a very dry brush of white just to try and get all the highlights and top notes. And bottom notes as well, because we don't want the bottom notes to feel left out. I also do the same procedure for the base. And while all that is drying, I do a bit of electronic soldering. Then once everything is dry, it's time to get the beach buggy onto the diorama. Now's the moment of truth time to attach the Stargate to the diorama. And no beach buggy would be complete without figures, so this is hello sexy lady. And there's the lady for the beach buggy, and then the guy that's driving, well, when I painted the moustache on him, he looked like John Holmes, but I'm calling him Chuck Norris. So Chuck Norris would usually have a hovercraft in his driveway. And it's on to the glamour shot, so all that's left for me to say is keep scratching that build, everybody. Thanks for watching.